Check, check.
Ready? Switch to the next slide. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Sony booth in the NAB 2018. Over here in this little stage area, we'll be giving presentations throughout the day. We're going to start things off with our introduction of the new PXW FS5 M2. The presentation will be given by Shapur Nasrati of Sony. So come around the stage and enjoy. Thank you.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you for visiting us at Sony 2018 NAB booth. We have a lot of exciting stuff for you guys today, a lot of great technologies that we introduced at this NAB. One of the exciting products that we announced yesterday was the FS5 Mark II. Obviously, FS series cameras generally have been one of our best-selling cameras, and it's been received very well in the market. And FS5 was received very well based on the size and ergonomics that it had. So we just introduced the FS5 Mark II. These are generally the key differences between the two cameras. What we did with the FS5 Mark II is we'll listen to you guys. Based on the feedback that we got from a lot of users, they wanted more natural look of skin tone and being able to have that more of the natural cinematic look right out of the camera for you guys. Obviously, you guys probably have already seen and heard a whole lot about the Venice, one of our flagship camera that we introduced last year, and it's going very strong for us. The beautiful and amazing color science from Venice is what we used to have a similar concept for the new FS5 Mark II, to tweak the sensor to be able to have more of the appealing and more natural cinematic look right out of the box. Of course, you still have ability to match the existing FS5 to FS5 Mark II when using picture profile and paint menus. But the fact is that you can grab this camera out of the box and have a natural look with a default picture profile. The other thing that up until now, that with the FS5 Mark I, the original FS5, we're able to do with the paid licenses. That's a 12-bit FS RAW output to an external recorder, which is amazing for this size of camera. We're going to include that with the FS5 Mark II. You are able to get not only the raw, 12-bit raw output to an external recorder such as Atomos and Convergence Design recorders out in the market, but you're also able to do something that there is really no game in the market beside this camera at this price point. You can do 4K at 120 frames in 4-second bursts. So it gives you the ability to do 4K in raw quality. There is no picture cropping. You could do actually in raw quality. You could do 4K, 120 frame. And of course, we still have ability to do 240 frame with a burst internally, and you can do continuous externally in raw quality again at 240 frame on an external recorder. There is other burst modes as well, like 240 frame, even 480 and 960. So this is an amazing high-speed camera. Another thing that we're going to include in the FS5 Mark II, you're able in HD XAVCL codec, you're able to do continuous 120 frame. So you'll see at this price point, this camera really becomes the best high-speed camera at the interior level in this price point in the market. Now, you're able to do 140 in 4K in burst. You could do 240 frame continuous, both in raw quality. You could do 120 frame continuous internally, and you could do 240, 480, and 960 internally as an XAVC codec. You can, of course, externally do 4K at 60p continuous on an Atomos or Convergence design or any external device available. Again, I want to remind you guys, once you go raw, select the raw output, it'll put a 12-bit linear raw signal. So this is not 10-bit, this is not 8-bit that lots of these cameras at this price point and size will give you. This is a 12-bit raw signal that you're able to record with the new firmware of Atomos. You can do ProRes, RAW, you could do 4K, you could do 10-bit 422. Lots of different possibility and flavor that a recorder that can give you driving from that 12-bit raw signal. Of course, good things don't change. There was a lots of good feature sets and ergonomics and things that the FS5 has and was popular for. We kept it the same. One of the things that we don't often talk about and you guys really should know about is the Sony quality. We are literally one of the only manufacturers that we're able to manufacture from the lens, not only to end of the camera, but also to your living room. We are a lens manufacturer, we are an imager manufacturer, we make our own DSP, we make our own codec, everything is Sony. But also, as far as the quality, we look at what your feedback is. Cameras at this price point and size, they're generally either aluminum body or they're plasticky. We use magnesium titanium, the stuff that you make spice shuttle out of, basically, to make the camera more lighter and more durable. So these are the things that Sony does for our customers. Some of the other key points is exactly like the FS5. It's the fast operation that you can switch between different frame rates and different recording mode without having a downtime very fast. The Alpha lens system is obviously one of the popular lens systems in the market because only 80mm flange depth, and you're really not limited as far as what kind of glass you can use. You can use cinema lenses, you can use steel lenses, Nikon, Canon, PL lenses, really any kind of lens with an adapter you're able to adapt and use with any Alpha camera. And that's a really powerful statement we're trying to make as operators, one of your biggest investment is your glass. We want to make sure that you can use the glass that is available to you, not forcing you to use certain type of glass in a camera. An E-mount camera system is one of those systems that will allow you to use any lens that is available to you guys. We talked about the super slow motion functions, that was in FS5. Now it's in FS5 Mark II as well. In addition, you have ability to do the raw output right out of the box with an external recorder. Of course, the ergonomics is one of the big things with this camera. The most appealing feature set of this camera, that how modular it is, and you can use it really literally in every kind of application, in drones, in gimbals, in tight places. The body only weighs 0.8 kilogram. That's about 1.9 pounds for the US people to do the conversion. So it's really powerful where you can go with this camera because of the ergonomics and flexibility of modular system that we have available to you guys. Of course, the sensor. So for those of you that you don't know, even if you don't have a Sony camera in your pocket or in your hand, the chances are you're using a Sony sensor. We are one of the largest sensor manufacturers in the market. What's that commercial? It says, we know what they're good to about making sensors. So basically, we have sensor in a lot of our cameras as well as our competitor product. The Super 35 sensor that we have for FS5 and FS series generally, it's been one of the most successful sensors that we had. And we use exact the same sensor as I mentioned. We tweak the sensor and the look of the camera based on a Venice color science technology to have a better natural look out of the sensor. One of the groundbreaking technology that started with a couple of handy camcorders, and FS5 was the one that adopted it first, so it continues on FS5 Mark II and FS7 Mark II as well. It's a variable ND filter. It'll give you lots of flexibility as far as creativity. If you're doing a lot of outdoor, indoor to outdoor shooting, you can set your ND filter as auto ND to go indoor and outdoor seamlessly. You can also expose anywhere from 2.1 to 7 stop. In other words, you have flexibility to gradually change your ND filter from quarter ND to 1/128 ND. And you also have ability to set preset or auto mode. So in some cases, you can have your aperture wide open and expose with your ND. So it gives you a lot more creativity that you can create with a variable ND filter. One of the other things that we also going to have a little bit more in-depth presentation here on the stage later on, it's HDR. Obviously HDR has been a big buzzword for the past couple of years. We're seeing a lot more and more consumer devices and things like YouTube and other services being able to support HLG. What HLG is, it's an instant HDR as we call it. It's a hybrid log gamma. Obviously we have the file-based HDR that for you guys that you have all the time and the budget in the award to be able to process and finish in HDR from S-Log in a pose. But there are certain projects that you guys are doing, there's really no time or budget for color grading. So that's what HLG will give you. It gives you an instant in the camera, basically HDR. And you can play it directly on an HLG capable TV, or you can upload it to YouTube, and the beauty of it is your workflow doesn't change. You still use the same workflow that you had as an HLG. Also at the end, we're showing the new Catalyst Pros, which is the free software content utility management from Sony. The new version of it that's going to come out, it'll give you ability to convert HLG to 709 basically. So more of the faster instant creation of the HDR content and SDR simultaneously if you wish for a certain type of application. Of course we still have the S-Log 2 and S-Log 3. So if it is a file-based system and you want to do a more precise color grading and have much more flexibility for your grading, you still can shoot S-Log 2 and S-Log 3 with S-Gamma 3 will give you the best option for the HDR. These are the internal recording formats, so nothing has changed from the FS5. Keep that in mind, you can do externally up to 4K 60p and 120 frame as a burst on an external recorder, but internally you can still record UHD up to 30p, you could do HD 10-bit 422, just the same as FS5. There is also a MPEG HD license available, just like it was for FS5 for FS5 Mark II, because certain network and certain application that you're required to have an MPEG codec, we'll give that ability to you guys with a license, which is available for both cameras. Of course, we will have still the raw option, raw license key, and 120 frame for the existing FS5s, but that will be included out of the factory for FS5 Mark II. So, again, on far right, we're showing some HLG content. We are going to have some other presentations that will cover as far as E-mount lenses, HDR, ND filter, all day today, tomorrow, and during the show. Please check back with us. Look at the presentation schedule that's going to be posted here all day. Look at some HDR and HLG comparison content at the end. We have lots of handy camcorders that we're going to also talk about, a couple of the new ones later after this presentation in the next hour. We have an FS7 Mark II, FS5 Mark IIs on the counter with external recorder. Feel free to come and ask any question. We'll be here all day. Thank you for stopping by at Sony.